So, I think we're ready. Janky, you ready? Ready to go?
Whenever you're ready.
Cool. So for those of you that don't know me, I know sort of most of you in here. My name's Nikki, and I know Janky very well, and obviously a few of you. So I used to play professional tennis, and then I started a business where it's quite a niche business, but we specialise in a few things I'll run through. Projector. And so Janky just kind of asked me to come in and kind of give a little chat about what I do and also how I came to do it, as it might kind of be interesting, kind of the journey that I took from being in sport, in professional sport, and then kind of transitioning into business. So I just thought I'd kind of come and share like the things I learned on the way, and like some things you might find interesting or helpful, or you might be able to take away with you. So about me, I used to play professional tennis, started when I was 3 years old, and all the way up till I was about 22, 23, I stopped playing. And then I travelled for a few years as like a touring coach, so for some WTA players, I was like kind of the middle guy between their head coach and them, so we travelled to tournaments together, and then I was a practice partner for a long time as well, for about a year or so. I got to practice with pretty much everyone, which was pretty cool. With Federer, with Nadal, Djokovic, and a few others, so that was obviously like quite a cool experience. And at the same time, I knew that, like, for example, a lot of tennis players or a lot of like people that are in sports, like a natural progression is coaching. Which is something I enjoy, like teaching and stuff I enjoy, but coaching was never like a passion of mine. So I kind of always had this like, let's say, background, passion, interest, that I kind of just been sort of naturally kind of working on for a few years, or for a long time actually. And then to where I am today, where, so I founded my company Unstrung Customs in 2016, I think it was, 2015. So now we've actually become the biggest company in the world that does like racket painting, so tennis racket painting, which is very niche. Obviously, it's like, it's quite a niche thing to do. But we kind of found our little sort of market, and So we also string customized rackets for pro players. So for those of you who don't know, like tennis players will have maybe anywhere between 6 to 8 to 10 rackets with them all the time, and they'll go through anywhere between 12 to 40 rackets a year, and they all need to be the same weight and same balance. So we started off with that. Let's go back. What's going on? There we go. We also do. I came up with a product that we 3D print, which I'll kind of talk a little bit about afterwards. We also have our own range of paddle rackets, and we were the first ones to start doing online courses and kind of teaching what it is we do. So I've kind of gone, I guess, full circle from learning to then doing it, and now kind of trying to share that with others. So kind of just a little run through of what we do at the moment. I don't know how well you can see that, but obviously string racket on the left, which is sort of thing that Baby Bill's Janky, which is easy to be. So string rackets is something that's easy to learn, but kind of difficult to be very good at. And then racket painting is obviously what we specialize in now. And then, some of the stuff that we do, we came up with some cool rackets again. Can't see it that well, or not at all. What's going on? Come on, Janky.
It might be the cable, like the wire.
Probably the cable.
In case you want to see. It's only photos. Like rackets that we did. There we go. Some kind of funky ones. So basically, people can design anything they want in their racket. On paddle rackets as well now. So they want their logo, their business names, their face on it. I don't care. We can do pretty much anything you want, which is kind of cool. We were the first ones to do it. We also I do stuff for big brands. So we did like rackets for a Burberry photo shoot back in 2019, which was cool. So for marketing campaigns and stuff like that. I've done a couple of others as well. These were just all white. I did some that had like the company's logo on and stuff like that. So then I kind of go over a little bit about how I started and why I started. So stringing specifically was something that I was always interested in. I started when I was 14, just kind of learning because it was like a hobby. If you play tennis, it kind of goes together with that. And then I realized that like my hobby could actually just like earn me some pocket money. I could, pay for a few bits, and like it was never an idea that would make like it would be a job or anything, but it was just an idea. So so I started like the let's say the foundations of the business just as like a hobby, just something I was interested in, something that I kind of enjoyed that was related to my passion at the time, and then kind of it was just a natural progression in the beginning, sort of from stringing. Then, like I was kind of talking about, we customized tennis rackets with like weight and balance. So that was kind of like another step. I used to do it for myself, for my friends. And again, it wasn't like something that I had like an idea of like I wanted to ever really do. It was just something that was kind of interesting. This actually would be a good photo. Because you know how whenever you see like, I don't know, all the sort of the classic kind of garage photos of like, I don't know, Amazon and Steve Jobs in their like garage. Mine was my kitchen table with like this little sort of tiny machine, and that was it. I mean, if that's not working, I'll take that off. I'll come back and shit when he comes back with a new cable. But it was literally just my kitchen table. Here it is. Like my kind of like classic, like where it kind of started, I guess, was just my kitchen table and dining room table, and it kind of just grew kind of naturally from there. Then it was, we started doing customizing. The lighting's kind of tough to see the photos, but anyway, to the terrace. So like everything was just at home, like kind of building on just something that I was interested in, and I think that's also why like these days I'm able to like, I enjoy work, and like every day like I'm happy to come into work and I'm happy to like think of new things to do, because it started with like an interest and a passion. It wasn't like I didn't go into a business or a job because it was something that I really like I needed to do, in the sense of like just because I was told to, or because I followed like a path that people told me that I should do. It was just something that kind of happened naturally. Then like any business, we made some upgrades, but then it was like still the living room, and it kind of like took over. I was getting busier and busier with the stuff that we were doing in the beginning. So like a year or so afterwards, I like made some upgrades. But as you can see, it was still like in the living room. So like I had tennis stuff everywhere. And then this was actually the photo that I posted. You can't really see, but the rackets are black. That kind of changed everything for us, and like was like the catalyst from where I was, like where we were, and my idea of the business. Kind of after about a year, I had an idea of what I thought we were going to do, and this was the photo that I posted that kind of changed everything. It looks really simple. It's just 4 black rackets, but I was playing with Wilson rackets at the time. I no longer had like a contract, so I just had like a car dealership paint them. And then I just posted a photo on our Instagram, and I mean back then we had maybe 200 followers, 250 followers back in 2015, and that like was when people started to like ask if it was something that we did, something that we like would offer as a service, and it was never anything that like it was never something that ever crossed my mind. Like I mean, I've always been quite alright with like hands-on stuff and design stuff, but like it was never like on my radar of like this was, from a business plan, this was exactly what I wanted to do, and these were the steps I wanted to do. It was just something that kind of happened. So then I spent a good part of the year, maybe even more. I mean, even today I'm still trying to get better, but like trying to find out how to do that even better. And what I mean with that is I started off doing one thing, and it was just, let's say by accident, but the willingness to try something different that like led me into a different direction and kind of where we are today. Because I think had we not done this, then I would just be maybe not even having the business, or it would just still be like a side job or like a hobby business sort of thing. And it was the it was because I kind of gave myself a chance to do something different that like it allowed me to grow into something bigger and sort of more successful, I guess. So yeah, so I mean, I had to do a lot of R&D, a lot of research and development, trying to figure out how to do it properly. You know, as I said, it was never on my radar, but like, I also then had to decide whether it was something that would be viable as a business, because it didn't really exist, you know, so I was either like, coming up with something that nobody wanted, or nobody had done before, or I was onto something like, cool and interesting and different. And that took a while, to be honest, because knowing, you know, like, I mean, you guys all have the fortune of, you know, going to uni, so you learn about, you know, business planning and, you know, organizing costs, what, you know, like knowing a lot of info. But to be honest, I mean, I actually left school at 16, finished my A-levels, but like never went to uni. So like I was kind of having to learn all of this as we went along and kind of make it up most of the time. And so yeah, I'd figure out if it was worthwhile business, you know, because like it's like painting tennis rackets sounds kind of silly, to be honest. So like it was compared to, you know, like coaching or something. So yeah, so I had to just kind of like make it up and figure it out. So yeah, so kind of how did I do it and like what did I learn? These are the things that hopefully you guys might find interesting that you can apply to like the thing that you're interested in. Obviously mine is very specific. I found like my niche, but just because you might be interested in football or athletics or going into being an agent or opening, I don't know, a health, sporty restaurant, whatever it is, there's like common themes that I found now with also how I've diversified, because now we don't really just do one thing, we do maybe 5 plus a few other ideas that are in the loop. So I kind of try to apply those same things to everything that we do, and it kind of works at the moment. So yeah, so like my main sort of big thing is just cultivating an idea, because everybody has an idea, everybody has ideas about something that could be cool or could work or could be fun, but it's actually getting that idea out of your head and like getting it onto paper and structuring it in a way that you can actually like oversee if or it might or might not be worthwhile doing. And then, yeah, like be honest about the type of person you are and the person that you want to be, meaning like, I've always been someone that has been able to like do some things that are a bit different, you know, but I've also, there are other things, you know, other qualities that I lack. So then I've looked to try and find those things in other people and get other people to help me. So like I started the business with 2 friends and colleagues that are in London. And like, as like a trio, we work well together, and now we have, I think, 5 people, 6 people working with us. But it's just, be honest with yourself that like, what are your strengths? Question or, yeah, tell me.
Do you focus on Spain business, or do you have like ambassadors in different countries?
So yeah, so I probably should have said, so actually I don't do much business at all in Spain. Like all of the work that we do is actually global. 90% of like our revenue actually comes through Instagram, using social media, literally from having 300 followers and posting that photo, like we just, you know, in, let's say, influencer terms, we haven't got that many followers, so we have like close to 15,000, something like that, which is not that many. However, our interaction rate is super high, so it means that like, percentage-wise, normally you have about 10% of the people that follow you are normally business-wise, are interested actually in what you do. But seemingly we have maybe like 35%, which is super high in that sense. So even though like our overall count is not super high in the terms and also in the niche that we're in, obviously we're not like a clothing brand, we're not, you know, we're something super specific. So we've managed to gain followers that are actually genuinely interested in what we do, and that's how most of our business, we sell ship rackets to the US, to Australia, ship rackets to Hong Kong, literally anywhere in the world. Especially nowadays, it's easy to ship stuff. I mean, besides from import fees and stuff like that, yeah, we work globally. So yeah, so regardless of like the idea that you might have, just make sure that it's something that's passionate, like to you. If you want to like do something or do a job that both obviously earns you money, but also like you enjoy and you're happy with, then make sure it's a passion first. Because if you just want to go and make loads of money, then maybe like, I don't know, become a banker or something that makes loads of money. But if you want to do something that like related to your passion, then just keep true to that like initial like interest that you have, and then the rest will come. You have to be perhaps maybe more patient, but you know, like I'm happy to go to work on the weekends. I'm also in a position now because I work for myself with, if I need to like during the winter season, I could take Tuesdays off and go skiing or make it up on the weekend. But that's because I found the structure of how I like to live. You know, I don't want to be tied down to a 9-to-5 job personally. But for example, for you guys, some of you might like that. Some of you might like the structure, which is great. But then that's why it's important to be honest about the type of person that you are and really understand like, maybe you need the structure, maybe you do need somebody to tell you what to do every day, you know? And that's nothing wrong with that. Doesn't make you any better or worse. It's just, you know, just depending on the type of people that we are. And then start small. Like the only way for something to grow is if you like, it sounds like a cliche, but it has to start and grow into something. Nobody has that like $1 million idea from day one, you know, or very rarely. So like you have to give yourself a chance to start. Because otherwise you're not going to be able to progress. A lot of people get caught up about, they don't see like an end result in their idea. They don't see a way of really making money, a lot of money, let's say in the long term. But like you need to give yourself a platform to start on, because if you don't do that, then you're never going to give you a chance to like grow into anything. And then like the most important thing is having a clear vision at the end, is you know, get your thoughts onto paper. So like I've been carrying this notebook from 2015, so pretty much when I started the business, and I still write in it. It's nearly finished. I nearly need a new one. But like, any idea that I have, I just write down ideas. And like I even have, you know, things that I've written titles for stuff that I've not actually, like it's an idea that I've had, but I've not actually gone through these stages yet, because either I've been busy, it's not been the right time for whatever reason, but at some point I might, you know, flick through it, come back to it, and then be able to be in a position to work on it. So always write down your ideas, and just be short and concise. Like you can elaborate on them later. Just kind of have like a clear idea of what it is that you're thinking of doing. And like always, don't worry about a name, and definitely don't design a logo, because I have so many friends that ask me like, oh, what do you think of my logo? It looks really cute, and I got a design. I'm like, yeah, but what's your business? And they're like, well, not sure. I'm like, you know, you need, like, there's no point of having like fancy name, a fancy logo if like you've got a terrible business idea.
How long into your business did you start like working on the logo and like all the?
It came, to be honest, it probably took 3 months, 4 months, because I started off as myself, and then I brought my 2 friends on board, colleagues, and then we started working together, and then it was like, oh, we should probably think of a name, you know, so we came up with a name. For those of you that don't know, Unstrung Customs, Unstrung is just the name of a tennis racket without strings in it, and then customs, obviously, from the custom work we do. And then I had a logo before. I actually forgot to put a photo of it. It was the same logo, but it was a 2-tone logo, and after about 2 years, 3 years, so about 2 years ago, we decided to adapt the logo. Because at the end of the day, for example, if, I don't know, Apple was called, I don't know, Peaches, or Amazon was called, I don't know, something completely different, nobody would care. It would still make the same amount of money, it would still, you know, work just as well. Their logos are fine, you know, it's nothing special. That's not whatever like makes a business. It's the idea and the people like behind a business that is what like makes a successful business. Whether it's massive one, a niche one, things like people always get so caught up, especially these days with like Instagram and just general like everybody wanting to look good and imaging. Like people think that having a cool logo is useful, but it's nobody cares at the end of the day what the name is, what the logo is. As long as it's not something ridiculous, you're going to be fine, you know. So definitely worry about that later, because it's something that, you know, that people, you can always come up with. And then start to kind of ask yourself some questions when you have an idea. So I kind of try and do this every time I have an idea. like, is it something that I'm passionate about? Yes or no. Like, for example, I always had an idea about even opening a restaurant, but it's not like a passion of mine. It's like an idea that I like, you know, and it would be cool, but it's not like a passion. So that's like, it's in the notebook somewhere. Maybe one day I'll like find a passion for it, or something will change and give me a position to like do it. But until then, it just kind of chills there. But I've gone through these stages because maybe that day comes when I'm least expecting it, and it you know, gives me a chance to like to go for it. And then obviously, like any business, I mean, for sure you guys know probably even better than I do. You know, you need to do your market research. Is there a need for it? You know, are you going to have consumers? Is there competition? And then the most important thing for me, and it's like kind of a mantra of mine or like a motto of mine, is how can you be better or different to the competition, if there is. You know, well, regardless of what industry you're in, whether you're an athlete, whether you want to, I don't know, be a salesman, whether you want to be an agent or a business owner, always try and be better or different than the rest, and also than you were yesterday, because that's how we keep improving. So that's something I still work on today. Like, I still try and think of ways to like improve the business, expand it, and then like the most important thing, to be honest, that a lot of people forget is courage. It sounds something really simple, but actually to have the courage to try and do something is the most important thing. You know, everyone can have a good idea, everyone can like do the steps, but unless you actually have the courage to actually try, you're not going to find out. You know, and that's the most difficult thing, to be honest, because it's the one thing that I guess I've been fortunate that I've found. You know, that you have the courage to try, to fail, accept it. And also, like, when people, if you want to find a business that makes you happy, it's not often going to be something that is that common. So you might get a lot of questions, whether it's from family, from friends, from whoever, being like, should you be doing that? Is that a good idea? And that's when you need to like have the courage to say yes, and to like believe in yourself and believe in like your passion and the thing that you're interested in, you know? And so that's like, to be honest, the like core element of like what I kind of try and bring to the business every day, to the office, to like when people ask me on ideas on like what they could do with their own ideas, and that's like the main thing. It's just like have the courage to kind of try and actually do something, you know, because that's what sets us apart, I guess. I mean, everybody can have a great idea, everybody can make a nice logo, everyone can write up a business plan, but unless you actually have the courage to try and like go through with it, you know, you're not going to get anywhere. And that's kind of, yeah, that's the main key area. And then obviously coming back to sport, I try and take the things that I learned in sport and as a tennis player and to kind of use them, you know, like discipline and hard work. Even though I enjoy my work, sometimes it's tough, like it's, you know, tedious or long hours, or, you know, you have to put the work in, like it's hard sometimes, but like I just try and use that kind of discipline to, you know, to get through those periods and come out with something good at the end. And then, I mean, not just in sport, but like in any, but I guess it's more obvious in sport is that like there's a very competitive atmosphere, you know, whether you're a sports person, working as an agent, everybody's there to be better than the other person. And that's when it's just important to remember not to lose yourself, and again, just like stay true to yourself and focus on yourself and not kind of get dragged into trying to like beat the competition. It's more of a like being different and better because of you, not because of like, oh, they're doing this, I'm going to try and do that, or because you're just gonna like end up unhappy at some point, you know, if you kind of go into trying to be ultra competitive. And then patience is key, to be honest. I mean, every big business, every job that is, you have to be patient. You're not going to wake up, you know, tomorrow and then with a great idea and then the next day you're making, you know, loads of money. It doesn't happen, unfortunately. So even though, especially these days, things look like it's a lot easier than it was, it's still really hard. There's a lot of competition out there for every business. And then, yeah, you don't need to do it alone. Like my main ethos as well, I guess, I try and always work with my friends, which is difficult sometimes, but you have to try and choose the people around you that you trust and that you can be honest with. You're going to disagree with them sometimes, you're going to be unhappy with them sometimes, they're going to be unhappy with you. But you are, like, at least for me anyway, I try and work with friends because I want to see them do well and I want to do well. So like I'd rather bring up somebody close to me than like some randomer, you know. So that's why everybody that works with me, they're all people, you know, they're all friends of mine. They're all people that I've known for a long time, because that's like the environment that I want. I want, you know, my business and job and stuff to be surrounded by the people that, you know, that I care about, and also that have, you know, again, shared interest, obviously. But and then yeah, just remembering to ask for help, because it's something that these days is like people are kind of often embarrassed about, you know, asking for help, asking for advice, asking whether it's asking your friends, your teachers, your parents. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You know, people, if you find the right people, they're going to be willing to help you. So yeah, and then obviously in sport, but in any business again, you can make a lot of contacts, but it's not always easy to know who you should be listening to. And I kind of have found out and understood that everybody has an opinion. You know, like everybody has an opinion, and everybody thinks their opinion often is the best one. You know, and to be honest, the people that generally speak the most are the people that know the least. So like if you come up with an idea and you share that idea with a friend of yours, and this has happened to me, it happens to me all the time, and they're like, oh, you need to do this, no, you should do that, no, you should try this. They have no idea what they're talking about. So generally, the more people talk, like give you advice, are normally the people that you need to ignore, because they're normally the ones that have absolutely no idea. And it's the ones that give you little snippets of just little sort of snippets of ideas that you can take away and actually apply. They're the ones you want to listen to. You know, like I have friends, whenever I have a new idea, some of them I share the ideas with, some I don't, because now I know who generally is an idiot and who isn't. Like, even though they're my friends, it just, you know, some people have great ideas, some people don't, you know, because some people are better at certain things than other things. And it's just knowing who to listen to, because obviously contacts are key. Knowing people that gets you, whether it's, you know, a job interview, or it gets you a promotion, or it gets you like a contact into like a sales channel or whatever it is. You just need to cultivate the right ones, I guess. And obviously these days, being famous or having loads of Instagram followers looks great, but it doesn't always mean that it's helpful. You know, like I have a few friends that happen to have a lot of Instagram followers that I could ask to I don't know, post stuff about, especially for us, because we use Instagram a lot, it could be useful. However, the most useful information probably that I've had recently was when I was in Sweden. I was just playing paddle with a group of guys, and they were business guys, and they were just asking about, they were interested in what I did, and we were just talking about it, and they were kind of asking about scalability, so like how to scale up the business and stuff. And because what I do is so time dependent and dependent on me, at the moment, or it was difficult to actually scale it, and I hadn't looked that far ahead, you know. And these guys are running massive businesses, you know, like millions of dollars, and so their thought process is different to mine, because I haven't gotten to that part. And that also comes back to starting small and then just allowing yourself to grow. And they were we were talking about it, and then one of them just popped up and was like, just double your prices. And I was like, what? Yeah, just double your prices. If you can't scale it, double it. And I was like, all right. So, I mean, I didn't double them, but I increased them massively, because, you know, that we're good at what we do. We're probably the best and the biggest ones in the world. And he came up with arguments that made sense, you know, and that little bit of information has a much, much bigger effect on my business than somebody with 100,000 followers posting a photo, you know, because even though for about 2 hours or 3 days or whatever it might be, you might, you know, get loads of interest, that doesn't have an actual sustainable impact on your business. And that's kind of what I mean with just try and choose the people that you listen to, you know. And I have now made friends that are also colleagues, or they work in similar business to me, that if I have an idea, I'll run it past them because they have good ideas, and vice versa. Even though, I mean, we're not directly competition, but we work in the same business. But because we're friends and we respect each other, we also help each other. Because just trying to make contacts just to use people is always going to end up badly. It's always going to end up like biting you in the ass because, you know, oh, this guy's the CEO of I don't know what, yeah, I'm going to be his friend because maybe he can get me in here. That is like a short-term solution to trying to like skip steps in like growing a business. You know, like everyone's trying to kind of get the quick way out, and that is often like a downfall because they try and like skip steps by like trying to be friends with somebody that's really important or somebody that could, you know, help them. Try to make contacts. Like, don't ask for advice, don't ask for favors from people that you wouldn't go and have a beer with or a drink with or a coffee with, because if you wouldn't sit with them and have a drink or a coffee or lunch, then like, why should they help you, and would you really help them in return? You know, that's kind of like at least a rule that I have for myself. Yeah, just trying to not like use people, and then be prepared that things can change really quickly. Sport has so many options and career paths. So just like I started with one very clear idea that when I started, I was going to go in that direction. And then from that one photo that I posted, I've gone in a different direction. Now we have a whole team, we paint rackets, we make our own paddle rackets, we 3D print parts for tennis rackets, we do all sorts of stuff. And so just be prepared that things are going to change. And don't be afraid of that change, because believe in like the passion that you have, but don't get stuck on the idea that you had in the beginning, because they can change. Ideas can always change. So just kind of like be prepared to expand and diversify. But yeah, as a summary, like I said, like for me, courage is like the number one thing. If you take anything away from today, it's just like to have the courage to try to do something. You know, whether it sounds like a terrible idea or a great idea, at least like try it. And that's kind of the main thing, because all the rest, like, it's probably stuff that you've either heard before or seems kind of obvious, but like courage is really the key to like doing anything well. And then I made this little sheet that you cannot read. There are some printouts, but it's basically for anyone that wants it. I made this as well for friends. Basically a summary kind of what I talked about today. So like, for example, you have an idea to, I don't know, open or to start a, I don't know, football athletic wear brand. Then there's basically, this is like a dummy's guide to how to start to cultivate an idea. So this is just, we'll go over this kind of stuff that I just spoke about. You know, like tell you, okay, don't worry about the name, ask yourself the questions that I went over, and then kind of into more detail. It's like a mini business plan. And then once you kind of do the first phase of it, then again, anyone that wants to print out, I have it here. I don't know if I have enough for everyone, but otherwise you can get it emailed. Just like who to speak to. And then obviously like, I mean, for sure you guys are like super familiar with business plans and stuff. But in the beginning, they may seem daunting. So I kind of tried to come up with like a small condensed version, because you don't need to do like a 60-page business plan just to find out that you've got a stupid idea, you know? Whereas this you can do in a notebook, and within half an hour, you can figure out whether or not it's worth pursuing to write a full-scale business plan if you need funding or if you need whatever. At least this is like a condensed version that you can like run over any idea. So this is basically what I do with any idea, any sort of branch of ideas that I have. I run through all these, but yeah, as can't really read it, you can take a look for those of you that are interested. But yeah, focus on the foundations of your idea. Like worry about the logos and the decorations and everything else later. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening. Any questions? Anybody? Yeah? Anyone? Yeah?
What's your production cost like to make one?
To make one racket, good question. So we, because what we do is quite labor intensive, it's actually, the cost to do it is actually in the manpower, the time that it takes to do it. So for example, it takes roughly 20 minutes. First, when we paint a racket, we have to sand it down. So we take the paint off, it takes about 20 minutes. Then we have to primer it, we have to let it dry. Then we have to also, even before that's done, a lot of the work is in like my consultation with the clients. Of like I do like a render on the computer. So you can see the design. So they'll tell me I want it, I don't know, black with white logos, and I want my name on the inside. And obviously then I have to like do that design on the computer, send it to them, and they're the things that take time. So I base my pricing on what my time is worth to me, but because at the end of the day, my time is my time, whether it's, whether I'm happy to do it for 10 euros an hour or I want to do it for 100 euros an hour, that's my personal choice, which is something that people forget about. So if you're doing something that is based on your time, whether it's coaching, teaching, something like this, like always ask yourself, what's your own time worth? In the beginning, when I was starting, my time was worth less because I was still learning. Whereas now, like that price has gone up because all the effort, all the hours I've put in before that is what you get from me today, which is what people forget. Just because, let's say, I don't know, I can paint a racket, it might take me 2 days, but I've had like 5 years of like practice and training to be able to do that and do that well. So therefore, that's what it's worth to me. And so for example, for us, our like costs are just the equipment. So you have to factor in all your equipment that you might have for whatever job it is. So I generally take our raw costs, which is low. Like paint is not that expensive and stuff, so that might not be too high. And then the time that it takes in total to do the manual time, it takes about an hour of human time on the racket. But obviously, it might take 3 days or 5 days because it has to dry. The actual time spent on the racket is about an hour. Yes, and then we normally and then add on like things like parts of the racket, stuff like that. But when it comes down to like knowing what your time is worth, only you can answer that. Like if you're starting off with something, then you can't, you don't have the experience to price yourself too high. But then if you feel like you're doing something really well and you believe in what you're doing, charge people what you feel is like right to you. And then if the people that complain about it, they don't want it, say fine, that's no problem. Like I also teach tennis and my hourly rate is slightly higher than the average rate kind of going, and that's because of the hours of practice that I put in playing professionally, the contacts I made to be able to like practice with with the top pros, like that is what you like. The hour that you pay me for is a result of all of those hours that I've put in before. So just bear that in mind when you come to like price, value your own time. Any other questions? Good.
So,
yeah.
Performance-wise,
yes.
Why would a tennis player choose Unstrung customs over like Head or Marbella?
So for example, we work with brands. So for example, a lot of, because of what we do is very niche, it comes down to a lot of like confidence with the athletes. So for example, players will be sponsored by their obviously the 4 or 5 main brands. So you have like Head, Babolat, Wilson, Yonex, and a couple of others, and they'll get their rackets from them, but then they'll ship them to us to customize. So each player that you see playing tennis anywhere, you might see 2 players using the same racket, and they might be the same, but they'll be different weights, different balances, they'll feel completely different, and then it comes down to like a combination of reputation and confidence that the athlete has with you. So a lot of the work that I did and I still do is like building up that reputation with the athletes, that you provide always a good service, you're always friendly with them, you always try and find a solution to problems that they have. For any of you that like know any sort of high performance athletes, they can be quite tricky. It doesn't matter the sport or who they are, whether they're young, old, male, female, they can all be very tricky. So like it's just a question of like managing that gives you a reputation to therefore they then hear good things about it and then they contact us. And that's kind of what that's the 5 years that's gone prior to where we are now that has given us that reputation. And again, it's the patience, I'm not going to get big clients from day one. So you start small, maybe some juniors, maybe your friends, maybe people near you, and then you have to have the patience that it's going to build up into something, because like there's no shortcut to like skipping those steps. So yeah. Anything else? No? Cool.
Okay.